Hey, USU listeners, this is Julie. And all right, you guys, you have no idea what a treat you're in for today. I am so excited to share with you one of the most special, amazing people, friends, coaches. Just you're going to be unbelievably blown away by today's guest. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Reverend Frances Faden. She is an interfaith minister and founder of Magnify Your Miracle. Reverend Frances is a master intuitive healer and spiritual counselor. Frances is fluent in the language of the human energy field known as the chakra system and can quickly translate energetic information to help her clients heal and transform. In 2012, Frances had a profound encounter with Mother Mary, which changed the direction of her life and awakened her life purpose. She has been channeling messages from Mother Mary ever since. She loves working with highly sensitive and creative spiritual women who have a big vision and mission, yet are seeking validation and personal guidance with their next steps. Reverend Frances says, by incorporating Mother Mary's guidance along with feedback from your own energy field, and then applying the universal laws of manifestation, miracles can occur. She is the author of the books Meditation is Friendship with God and How to Recognize God. Her passion is connecting people to the unconditional love of the divine and then teaching them how to magnify that connection, which is the key to magnifying your miracle. You can find the amazing Reverend Frances on her website at francesfaden.com, and we'll have that in the show notes. All right, so I'm going to bring you on. I need everyone to know you are one of my dearest friends. You've been my healer, intuitive coach. We've been in Bold Heart together. You are an extraordinary empathetic listener and, as I said, healer. Like there's nothing you can't do, but in this area, you are so brilliant. I'm so excited to talk to you and have a conversation today.
Oh, thank you, Julie. I can't even tell you how excited and honored I am here to be with you. I'm already just feeling so excited. Yay. I know the angels are dancing with us.
Yay. I know. So if you're tuning in, I'm just telling you now, if you did not have like your vitamins this morning, I think you're going to get a shot of that just listening to this. I swear to God, I feel like I just had some caffeine or adrenaline and I didn't have any caffeine. It's being in your presence. So
sweet.
Yay. All right. So there's a lot that I want to talk about and unpack with you.
Sure.
I think the first thing, I talk a lot about being your truest you, being your authentic self. And I know that that's been a journey for you, kind of really coming into your own self. Would love to hear a little bit about your own personal journey and then start getting into this whole relationship that evolved. I know you said in 2012, but let's start with you. You're really coming into your truest you. Tell us about yourself.
I love the USU question. Because I'm a big fan of your podcast, so I listened to it and I'm like, that's such a great question. Because I think over the millennia, there have been yogis up in the Himalayas contemplating this question of like, what is my meest me? And here we are on this podcast asking this question, like, what is it? It's a deep question, Julie. I mean, it's a really profound question. And you could probably become self-realized just meditating on this question. I mean, obviously, I think that the quick answer, of course, is like the USU energy is our God self, my meest me. But for my journey specifically as Frances, it's really been, I find that I am my most authentic self when I'm not trying to fit in. And that's been a big part of my story. It's been a big part of some of the dark moments that I've gone through and some of the different things that I've learned along the way is that wanting to belong, that wanting to fit in, that wanting to find my place usually ends up not in a good way. And I end up kind of trying to be something that I'm not. And I think that's what's underneath of that not being my USU. So I love this. When I came across your book, I was so happy because I think this is such a great journey to be on of being authentic rather than trying to be good or trying to be special or whatever. It's like just being real, being your real self.
Yeah.
And I think that is the core of what's been my spiritual path.
That's so beautifully said. And I think one of the things you said right off the bat, you said that it's when you're not trying to fit in. And this is something, that many of us, I think those listening, you've been in a space, I'm sure, where, it's that what's appropriate? What are my parents going to think? What's the keeping up with the Joneses? What should I be doing? And what I'm hearing for you, it's almost like the definition has been from that space of really letting go of whether you fit in and whatever that means anyhow, and letting that be released.
Absolutely. And the funny thing about it is I'm so out there, like I don't fit in anyway. And part of me is okay with that. But I think part of me has always been a little bit like wanting that acceptance or that approval or whatever that is. And that's what kind of got me in the sticky situation before 2012. That's a big part of my story is, you want me to tell that part of the story?
Yeah, I think just to give a little essence about it, because
Sure.
Just to give people a sense of your background,
Sure.
absolutely be great.
So I'm born and raised on Long Island in New York, and I came from a very Catholic family on both sides. And I had actually wanted to be a priest when I was like 7. And the reason I wanted to be a priest was because I was in church with my mom on Easter morning, and I was so happy that it was Easter morning. And the service wasn't happy. Like the priest that was doing the service was very somber and very serious. And on the inside, I was like, that's not it. Like, that's not the energy. Like, God is this energy of joy. And I really wanted to share that with people. So I said, hey, that's what I want to do. And I was quickly told, you can't do that because girls can't be priests. And from that point on, I was like, well, that can't be the truth. So I started looking for what the truth was. By the time I was 11 and 12, I was into astrology, numerology, I was really looking for what was the truth. I wanted to know, how did the universe work? And there had to be more than what we knew. And I had this sense I wasn't being quite told exactly what the truth was, and took science classes. I was really like looking under every rock. And then what happened was when I was 19, I had a healing crisis. And so the healing crisis ended up I kind of turned down that road. So rather than just spiritual progress or spiritual development, I started looking through the lens of healing and personal healing. So the healing crisis that I had, doctors didn't know what it was. I ended up going to an alternative healer for the first time when I was 19, who all she did was take a little sample of my saliva. She didn't ask me any questions. I didn't fill out any forms. She came right to the spot on my body that had been bothering me and was like, this is what's going on right here. And it was my gallbladder that was not functioning very well at that time, which when people are 19, that's usually not the case. So the doctors had no idea about it.
Wow.
But what blew me away, Julie, was that she said, I can give you herbs and we can get the flow, the bile and all that going. She said, but unless you forgive the person that you're angry with, this is probably not going to heal very quickly. And then she left the room and got the herbs. And I was just floored. I was like, how did she know? Because at that point in my life, I was really angry with certain members of my family, and I had a lot of resentment. And I soon learned that those things kind of go hand in hand. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to learn how to be able to do that. So the only thing that was available at that time, so different than now, this is like, 25 years ago, became a massage therapist. And through that process, learned about chakra balancing. It was just an adjunct class, and just would incorporate that with the body work I was doing. And lo and behold, what would happen is I'd be working with a client and they would have a persistent issue in their chakra, in their energy system. And I started mentally asking, like, I wonder why. Why is their second chakra always closed? What's going on? And they started to talk back to me. The chakras started to talk to me. I started getting answers popping in my mind of like all of a sudden I would see an image of a dog or something like that. And I'd ask the person, so is there something going on with a dog in your life? And they would be like, oh my God, my dog just passed. And so the energy started to talk to me. And then eventually what happened is people wanted that more than they wanted the body work, the massage work. So I started doing that exclusively. And that was right around the time that Carolyn Mace's work came out, The Anatomy of the Spirit and medical intuition and all that. And for a while I thought I was going to do that. But what I found for me was I was helping people heal physically, but the emotional things were never being addressed. Like they just weren't going there. So the physical things would reoccur.
Yeah.
So that's when I started focusing a lot more on the emotional healing piece and working more deeply with that. Knowing, I think we need to address body, mind, and spirit, but that's really my specialty, is being able to see what's going on in your energy field, what emotions might be stuck there, whether it's yours or anybody else's, what's it trying to tell you? And that's what I've been doing. So I became an interfaith minister. That's the way that I was able to fulfill that role of wanting to be a priest. And that legally gave me the ability to do the spiritual counseling and to go deeper into that work. I eventually moved to a spiritual community and thought that that was going to be my dream come true, to live in a spiritual community of people that love God. And it was so great. And it was just not that at all. It was wonderful at first. And there were definitely gifts that came. I mean, now I look back on it and I think that was kind of like going to graduate school, is what I feel like now. Like, oh yeah, I spent 6 years in the spiritual community, kind of got my master's in spirituality, so to speak. But all my stuff about fitting in came in, all that stuff about wanting to fit in and wanting to belong, and what did I need to do to be in the inner circle. And it was very cliquish and that kind of thing. And the more I tried to fit in, Julie, the more my intuition started to wither. The less I could hear the angels, the less I could feel things, until I was like hanging on by a thread. And it was really heartbreaking for me, because I had felt like I'd followed my heart in going there. So it just brought up all this doubt of like, was I wrong? Was it not the right thing? Right. So when we did finally leave, and this was in 2011, for about 9 months, I was going through this grieving process of, it felt kind of like leaving an abusive relationship in some ways. Like I really didn't understand the impact of it until after I was out of it. And then I was like, wow, like how much I had censored myself and was trying to follow the rules and all that kind of thing. And then what ended up happening was I couldn't meditate. I couldn't, I wrote a book on meditation. I couldn't meditate. I would just sit at my altar and journal and listen to music. And I just couldn't connect because my heart was so broken. And I'm the one that broke it. Like I broke my own heart, really. And what started to happen was I went to go see a saint from India. And my only prayer was to just please help me open my heart back up to God. And she blessed me. And 4 weeks later, Mother Mary's energy started to manifest in my life in a couple of different ways. She started tapping me on the shoulder. I will say that was the last person I wanted to tap me on the shoulder, because at that point I was not considering myself Catholic at all. And one time when I was really in this dark night of the soul and I was praying, it's just like, you got to help me. You just got to, God, I refer to God as Divine Mother, which is a universal energy. So I said, Divine Mother, you got to help me. You got to give me a direction. You got to pull me out of this. And I was in my meditation room, and all of a sudden the energy in the room changed, Julie. And I could feel it. The energy in the room changed. I was like, somebody's here with me.
Wow.
And I couldn't see with my eyes open, but my eyes were closed. And in my mind's eye, I looked behind me, and there she was. And it was Mother Mary standing there, which my first thought was like, oh no, like how am I going to explain this to people? But I was at my lowest point. I was like, let me just be open, let me be open. And I asked her, why are you here? And the funniest thing she said is, I want to be in your next teleclass. And I was like, really? Because I had just started passing on messages in a teleclass format. And I'd been doing it with the angels, that I love the angels. And Mother Mary wanted to be on that next call. And I was like, really? So I had nothing to lose. And I was like, well, okay, I don't know how I was going to explain this to people, but I just took a risk and I did it. And it was awesome. And people got a lot out of it. And people actually said to me at the end of the call, I don't know if you're looking for what you should be doing, but this is what you should be doing. So ever since then, Mother Mary has been my go-to. She's been the focus of my work. I say Mother Mary because that's how it manifested to me. I just want to let your listeners know. Yeah. I believe that if I was in China, it would be Kuan Yin. If I was in India, it would be Saraswati. It's just Divine Mother. It's the Divine Mother energy. She comes to me in the form that is familiar to me.
Whew, that is beautiful. There's a lot to that. And I even, just to go back for a minute, when you were talking about, just thinking about this 19-year-old you experience of the synchronicity of somehow finding this alternative healer who pinpointed, what was going on physically, but the real gift was getting that it was forgiveness. And
Yep.
what a gift that was to get that and realize, oh, there's something going on here with emotions and our body. And I just want to so those of you, my lovely, beloved USG listeners, fans, friends, community, I have had the incredible privilege of getting to work with you, Frances, literally in this healer intuitive role. And let me just say that is one of the things you said, if you're not sure what to do, you definitely need to be in this zone. You've been incredibly powerful and magical. And as you mentioned earlier, because I come from a different faith, and I actually had very little, really not little knowledge of Mother Mary. And for me, that connection to Divine Mother, to that motherly, loving aspect was so powerful. And you have helped me to heal my body, my chakras. I just want to say what a gift it has been, to have you in my life and to have that healing that's happened. I mean, I'm not even doing it justice, and we'll go more into that, but to hear how that started for you, it's so fascinating how you've really honed in that ability. It wasn't massage, it's really that reading that chakra energy, but then also being able to pull in that Divine Mother energy for you, Mother Mary, for others, whatever you call it, but that universal love frequency of healing and love and well-being. And just what an amazing journey. I also, you'd said earlier that what is the USU is sometimes this not fitting in, and that it sounds like you got so much learning from your experience. I know you're in California living with a community. I would love to hear a little more about just how, there's a couple questions. So I'm gauging myself, because I can hear my listeners be like, okay, first of all, so how do you access this energy, this beautiful Mother Mary, Divine Mother energy? How maybe you could even talk about, for those listening, how we might be able to do that. And then I would love to get into, and I'll hold off. I'll wait on the next questions. I've got them here.
Yeah. So one of the things I can say about Mother Mary is that she's really available and really accessible. So there's nothing special about me. I have a level of skill because I've been doing healing work for a while. So I do have a level of skill, but I'm not special because Mother Mary came to me. I think she came to me because I was a wide open door. In desperation, my door was wide open. And when I look back, I know that she had been really wanting to be part of my life for much, much longer than that. And I kept pushing it away because I was like, yeah, I want to be spiritual, but not like that. I don't want it to look like that. And I came out when I was 22. So being a lesbian was also a big deal. And I was like, I am so not Catholic now. It's forget it. So when she came to me, I had a lot of fear come up of are the people who are kind of fanatical going to come after me? So it's been a little bit of a scary thing for me. But Mother Mary's energy is really available. All you have to do is call on her. Now, I will share with people that since she has come to me, one of the titles of Mother Mary is the Queen of Heaven. And so she has access to all the beings in heaven, all the saints, all the angels, whatever you believe, ascended masters. I never ask people to believe what I believe. I say, find out for yourself. But in my own experience, because I'm able to connect with her, I'm actually able to connect with a lot of other saints, a lot of any other being that is on the other side that's a high energy. I'm able to connect into, which I love. So I can tell the difference. It's like having different friends and different vibrations. I can tell the difference between when I'm talking to, Saint Francis of Assisi as opposed to, Mother Mary. And what I can say about Mother Mary is she absolutely respects your free will. She will never tell you what to do. If you invite her in and you ask for her guidance, she will give it to you. But she will never impose her will or tell you anything. So the really simple thing to do is just say a prayer to her. My favorite way of praying sometimes is in my journal. I'll just write letters to Mother Mary and I'll just ask for help or whatever it is. And then I listen for that voice. And for me, I can hear it. It'll be different for you, but write down the first thing that comes to you. So if you say, Dear Mother Mary, please help me with whatever's going on in my job and Give me some insight about that. And then pause and listen, and then write down the first thing that comes. Her frequency is very powerful, but it's also very sweet and very kind. And you know that Mother Mary is talking to you because she usually will say, my beloved child. That's usually how she refers to any of us, is my beloved child. And then she'll say, whatever else it is that she has to say. I'm also being guided to share this, Julie, is that you're on Mother Mary's radar. You're on her team. If some part of you has a desire to alleviate suffering on any level, if you're here to, help with kids, help with families, help people heal their PTSD, help the environment, help the animals, anywhere that there's suffering, if you're willing to be her hands, she will come to you in a second.
That's so beautiful. I think what's incredible is just the accessibility to everyone. And I was thinking, for everyone listening, I think what we're also really touching base on and connecting to is this universal principle of no matter what. So if you're listening, no matter what faith, what culture, what background you are, we're all from the same human being race. We all are from the same thing, from the same source of love. And just really tapping into, I know for me, faith is, I was born into one, yet I see it like we're in the same human family. We're all from that same oneness, that voice of love. And so tapping into this beautiful, sweet, and powerful, loving, divine feminine energy. There's a lot of shift, I feel like, in our culture as well, and society in the world around embracing the divine feminine. And I'm curious, so I'm saying this part for people that I know a lot of listeners are really into, like, how do we bring in the divine feminine, the feminine, as well as the masculine? Clearly we have the masculine going. That's not a problem. We don't have a problem with the masculine. Some might, but most don't.
Well, the divine masculine is definitely absent, but we definitely
divine
have a lot of masculine energy. But yeah, go ahead.
That's a very good point. Yeah, let's clarify. Maybe not the divine masculine, lots of masculine. Right. So I know for me, this has been very healing to tune into this. I think of it as a divine feminine, all loving, motherly energy. And I sometimes will just say, like, divine mother or divine feminine or, loving source, whatever it is. I'd love to hear a little bit, being an interfaith minister and your choice to do that, growing up Catholic, and then having Mother Mary come to you, who, if you're listening, you're Catholic, I'm assuming you have had a lot of experience with Mother Mary. Maybe some have, some haven't in this who's listening, but for you to kind of transform that relationship and then come through in this universalist way, I'd love to hear about that experience and how you serve in that way.
Yeah, I'd love to share that with you too, because it's been interesting. I really tried, speaking of trying to fit in, I tried to become a minister in 3 different churches, like a Unity church and a different New Thought church. And I love the classes. I love that teaching, because that's basically, that stuff that's been around is the core of, like, a lot of the law of attraction stuff. I mean, they've been doing that for a really long time, working with the universal principles and starting to weave it into Christianity and how it all connects. So I loved all that. And I was like, oh, I'll be a minister here. And that door slammed right in my face. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do it in this church. Again. And so finally I was talking to my mentor, Reverend Jane Howard Feldman, and she was an interfaith minister. And I said, well, Jane, the only thing that's really appealing to me is really to be a minister. And, what does that mean? Because I don't have like a church. It's more of like who I am in the world. And she said, why don't you try to go to the new seminary in New York, which I think is now called the One Spirit Interfaith Seminary. But at the time it was called the New Seminary. And she's like, that's where I went. Why don't you go there? And I went there, and that door opened wide. And when I was meditating, and I asked God at that time, as I want to do, really? Like, you want me to be an interfaith minister? Like, is this really what you want me to do? And I swear, Julie, I heard this voice that said, I'm asking you to serve all of my children, not just the ones who agree with you.
Ooh. Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
That's a high calling. So it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. So, and the hardest thing for me when we were in seminary was every month we would study a different religion. So we covered like most of the major religions. the hardest one for me was Christianity. That was the hardest one. They brought in a minister and they brought in a priest. And I was fine with Buddhism. I love Buddhism. I was fine with Hinduism. I love Judaism, like all of them. I was like, yeah, Christianity, all my walls came up, because that's where my core hurts were of like, you can't be a priest and women are second class. And, even though that's in other religions too, that wasn't my experience. So it was really, really hard for me. And I'll tell you, with Mother Mary, one of the reasons I didn't want it to be her was because when I was little, I felt like they kind of used her against me. Like they portrayed her as submissive and passive, and she just does whatever people ask her to do. And I was like, I don't want that. Like, what is that? And then I met Mother Mary and she blew my socks off. And I was like, oh no, this is the power of unconditional love that is now transforming the world. There is nothing passive about it. Mother Mary is like, in her own way, she was a pioneer and a rebel. And she never lets me forget that, Archangel Gabriel came and gave her the news and didn't tell anybody else in her neighborhood. So as far as they were concerned, it was a questionable pregnancy at that time. And she said yes to it. She said yes to a destiny that at that time, let's just say it's a good thing that they weren't conservative Christians. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Because if they were just rule followers, St. Joseph would have had to get rid of her because there's no room for that. And so right from the get-go, Mother Mary's breaking the rules, in my opinion. Of course, people are going to disagree with me, but she's really a way shower. She's more committed to the truth than she is to the dogma. And that's my opinion. That's my experience.
So I just love listening to you. You made, it's funny, the one thing you said, I'm like, oh, I think listeners would be curious. Like when you said that you met her, you said, I met Mother Mary. Say a little, I know you talked about her coming to you. For those that are like, how did you meet her? How do I meet her? How do I meet this energy? What does that look like? How, do you have practices or ways, can you describe what that feels like and looks like when you see her? And I know you mean in your mind's eye. I mean, I'm assuming you're not, maybe you are seeing her actually. I should ask you what that feels and looks like.
No, I'm not an apparitionist. I'm not somebody who she appears in bodily form. I wish I was, but no. The grace that I have is that she has made a promise to me that she would come when I called, basically. So right now I have an online spiritual community that is centered around Mother Mary. Right now it's called Community of Mary. We're going to be changing the name of that soon. But twice a month, we all get on a teleconference line and I invoke her presence to be with us. So there's a very specific prayer that I say. It's not magic, but there's a prayer that I have learned works. And whenever I say that prayer, then their energy in the room changes and I see her, I feel her, and it starts to become like a three-way conversation. That's what all of my work really is a three-way conversation, whether it's me and you and your energy field or me and you and Mother Mary, or it's this three-way dialogue. And so what I would say to people is if you really want to do this, first of all, obviously you can, get on my mailing list, and I do these tele-classes all the time. If you want to experience what that's like, it's really quite profound because it's
and they're amazing. I'm sorry to interrupt. Like I've been on many of them.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, regardless of your background, whatever you feel about whatever, this is powerful. My gosh. I mean, life-changing calls that these connections, unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm the conduit, and I have a very strong intention that she's not here for me. She's here with all of us. And it's the group energy that really draws the grace. So many people have said to me, when you did that prayer, I felt like Mother Mary's in the room with me. I'm like, exactly. It's because she is in the room with you. Yeah. She is in the room with you. It's not about me. I'm just the one that's creating the space so that whatever miracle you need to have happen, can happen for you. So I would say, the other thing I'll share too is that she comes in different forms. So sometimes she'll come looking a certain way. And there's always a lot of symbolism in how she manifests. So is she wearing blue? Is she wearing brown? Is she wearing gold? Like, what is she coming as? And then she usually mirrors to you something about your relationship with her. So she always comes to me as Our Lady of Lourdes, which is one of her healing manifestations. And it makes sense because that's what I do, is doing this healing work with people. Sometimes she'll come as Our Lady of Guadalupe, which if you're an artist, that is a powerful way to connect with Mother Mary, is Our Lady of Guadalupe. Our Lady of Peace is when she comes to Medjugorje. So it really depends. I would say look and see what connects with you. And then if you can go to like a special Mother Mary spot, there are a couple of places in the United States where she's actually manifested and appeared. But even so, there are shrines. There's like a shrine on the West Coast, Our Lady of Sorrows. It's up in Oregon. There's a grotto here in the Maryland area. But really, just ask for her to be with you. That's all you really need to do, is invite her in to be with you, and she will.
So beautiful. So one of my questions, because I can just hear people saying, okay, obviously you have a very heightened intuition and ability to connect. I know it's something we've been working on. I, in different ways, have strong intuition. We all are born with this ability to connect with the unseen, with the other side, whether you call them, high frequency energy or love, or angels or past ones. And I'm just curious, for those that are like, I don't know where to begin. How do I start connecting to my intuition? How do I start even getting to a place where I would have the wherewithal to ask questions like you were saying? I'm just thinking of those that are like, yeah, I can do it in my own language. I can do it my own way, but how do I do this? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. One of the things is that everybody's intuitive, no doubt about it. Everybody's wired differently for their intuition.
Yeah.
So, we can use fancy words like clairvoyant and clairaudient and all of that. And they can be helpful. They can also be a hindrance. So sometimes people think, if I'm not seeing big images, then I'm not intuitive. And that's not at all the case. The thing is to work with the way that you're wired. So let me just go over it. So, there's clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing. The one that I think most people are is, there's clairsentient, which is clear feeling, but then there is also claircognizant. I think more people are claircognizant, which is clear knowing. And that's how I started. It was just like, I didn't know something, and then I did. Like the answer just popped in my head. I'd be working with a client and asking a question like, why are they having this? And boom, the answer would come. And it wasn't until later that I started getting a picture with the answer. And then it started developing that I could hear. So now it happens all at the same time. But a lot of people are like, why aren't I seeing anything? And they try to push it and it doesn't work. So the first thing you want to do is really look at which one of those is easiest for you. Are you the kind of person that when you walk into a building, you get that feeling right away, or the hair on your arm like kind of stands up? Then you might be clairsentient. You might be more of a feeling oriented person, and you want to really honor and like, rather than asking yourself, what am I seeing? It's what am I feeling? What am I sensing at that level? If you're the kind of person where things just pop in your head, then you want to give yourself time and space to allow that. That's where journaling can be really helpful. Like you write a question, boom, what pops in your head? Write that down. If you are a visual person, great. There's so many guided meditations that you can do to just practice that. There's no wrong way. So many people, it breaks my heart. They say, oh, I wish I was intuitive. Everybody's intuitive. Now, that being said, you need to know how you're wired. But then the other piece of it is, if you're not experiencing your intuition on a regular basis, you may have something going on inside, either energetically, like maybe you were shamed, like maybe you were brought up in a really conservative family that told you it was like, evil or scary, or you saw movies that it was scary and you're afraid. A lot of people, when I work with them and their third eye is not as open as it could be, a lot of times they're like, I don't know that I want to know. I don't really want to know. They have fear around it. Yeah. So then that's a different level of something that I work with people is helping that, because once you have the feeling of your energy is open and you can see like, oh yeah, it's like wiping up your windshield. It's like, oh, now I can see where I'm going. That usually also needs to be addressed for people. But if you really want to develop that,
yeah,
I say start with journaling, start with really easy, like guided meditations, visualizations. I know you offer a lot of those. Get on a teleclass and just ask. I always tell people, start with the angels. Don't try to start with like connect. I mean, you can always start with Mother Mary, but I started with the angels. That was the first thing I did, is I got an attunement with the angelic realm. And it kind of goes in that order. Like they're so available. They're even more available than Mother Mary, because you have your guardian angel, and then there's the archangels. And once you invite them into your life, then boom, boom, synchronicities start happening. Angels are awesome. So start with the angels and start developing a relationship. That I'm into the relationship. I think if we have a relationship, it's different than connecting with this abstract thing. It's like calling your friend. It's not hard for us to think about, oh, I want to talk to Julie today. You don't think like, what do I need to do to get in the space of Julie? What am I going to say? You know, we make it complicated. It's just like, if you talk to your guardian angel, just talk to them like, oh, I'm going to talk to my guardian angel. Drive in the car and have a conversation out loud. They love that. They love that.
So well said. I'm just to recap, I think what I'm hearing you really say is, number one, we're all wired differently. And so start investigating, asking questions, and ask questions like, what am I seeing? What am I feeling? What am I hearing? And you'll start noticing which ones you have the propensity to. So you might notice, I get a gut feeling. I feel, like you said, goosebumps. That might be more feeling versus something drops in and that's knowing versus I'm hearing something. And so just really paying attention and asking questions. I love this. And I know for me, just one of the things, just for those that are like, I don't know if I have a relationship with angels, I actually sometimes also will ask my higher self, that highest version of me. I'll just say, all right, dear beloved higher self, or the best version of me that I am not yet seeing, or whatever the words are, sacred self. So it's like, find that whether it's relationship with you, your higher self, or the angels, or like, there's just start somewhere. And I love that. Like, just start by asking. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say about that too is that sometimes we can get in our head about it, like intellectual about it, like I'm connecting with the cosmic source of all that is, which is valid. But how does it make you feel?
Oh, yeah.
Into find the way to connect with spirit that makes you feel something, that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel heard, that makes you feel seen. And if connecting with your higher self makes you feel that way, then do that.
I love that. So beautiful.
There's no wrong way. It just
beautiful.
Otherwise, it's too intellectual.
Oh, totally. I love that. Like, just tune into how you feel. That's another thing for everyone listening, just to really notice, how are you feeling? That will give you the answer, is what you're saying, which I agree with. What you'd mentioned earlier about, prayers and having prayers to invoke this divine mother, this divine feminine Mother Mary essence. And I just want to share with everyone that I know you, Reverend Francis, are working on a book to put together your beautiful prayers. My gosh, you are so gifted at doing that. So everyone keep your eyes open, because I'll be sharing that. Can you tell a little bit more to those tuning in about what you do, and maybe even how you do it? Kind of when you're working with a client, or your work in really feeling the energy of the chakras and the emotional healing. Maybe just to share a little bit about what you do, and then how that helps to magnify their miracles. I've experienced it, but I'd love for you to share.
So as I was saying before, I started out doing energy work and working with the chakras and being able to dialogue with them, which was pretty cool in and of itself. And then when Mother Mary's energy came and started working with me, everything got stronger. The healing energy got stronger. The messages got clearer. The impact was really magnified. I mean, that's the word, is really magnified. And I'm a student of life and metaphysics, and I'm always still looking for the truth of how things work. So I have done a lot of study on the universal laws and how to work with them. So when I'm working with a client, all three of those things really come together. So I put my coach's hat on and I'm listening for what they're saying, and we're kind of doing more the left brain thing, because as much as I'm kind of out there, I'm also very practical. I'm very like, I want to do what works. If I was Cleopatra in my last life, that's nice, but how's it going to help me now? So I'm very much like, unless you got land in Egypt that you're entitled to, it doesn't really matter. So for me, I want to get practical results. So I love looking at like, what can you do? What are the actions that you've taken? How have those actions impacted your energy field? And that's what I love about this work, is that it's not just me saying, oh, well, Julie, why don't you just journal this week? If you journal this week, like I look and I check your energy, how is your energy this week? It's kind of like taking a selfie. Like, this is what your energy looks like this week. When I work with people over time, we start to see patterns. You start to see like, this is what your energy looks like after you talk to your mother. This is what your energy looks like after a stressful day at work. You start to see what those patterns are, so that you learn how to take care of yourself. It's really important. So once I look at your energy, and then we give you some actions to do based on what your own energy has told me, it wants. I don't tell everybody the same thing. You act on that. And then the next week when we look at you again and you say, well, the one thing I did this week is I journaled. I look at your energy and I say, look at that. You journaled and now your heart chakra is open this week. So that's how we start to see what specifically works for you. And then I'm incorporating in Mother Mary's guidance. So when I go to work with somebody, I always say a prayer. I'm not one of those people that can read your energy unless I've turned the switch on. And so I say my prayer, I go into that space, I start working with your energy, Mother Mary's energy comes in, and then she will also guide me as to kind of the next level. So the funny way I describe it is kind of like, you know, when you're going to the dentist, right? And you're taking care of your teeth and you're like, I think something might be a little bit off, you know, my gum feels a little bit funny. You go to the dentist, which would be me, and I can look and I can see from a different angle than you because I'm able to look at things differently. Okay, we look and we see, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a little inflammation there. And then the x-ray gets taken. And that x-ray is like, ooh, look what's happening underneath of the gum where you can't see and I can't see, and that's Mother Mary.
Amazing.
So all three are needed. You need to brush your teeth. I need to take a look at the plaque. And then we need that x-ray vision to really see like what's at the root of this, what's really going on. That's what makes it really fast, Julie. And I say this with humility. I'm like, this is not me. It's the combination of these things. And then we apply the laws of the universe and like how you manifest, how you do all of that. And then boom, you clear the energy. You're working with the laws. You have the grace of Mother Mary. Miracles happen.
That's so beautiful. And I could take all day to do this, to share with everyone. I've been very blessed to have quite a few healing sessions with you. And it's absolutely incredible to be the recipient of this. Like, I cannot recommend you enough and what you do. I mean, I've been amazed because I know part of what you do is look at, you know, my chakras, and every single time it's been right on. Now I'm pretty in tune, but even to, you know, I'll just share really briefly. My dad had a really bad fall. There was a lot of stress around that and dealing with him. And I remember, you know, right away you could tune in without me even talking about it to what was off balance in my body, and sensing that. And it's different every week. But what I've noticed is over time, my energy has gotten so much stronger, and I've learned what helps me to keep my energy and manage it in a way that's keeping me really vibrant and strong and able to do it myself. It's been just, it's hard to even explain it, but it's brilliant what you're able to do. I know you just see yourself as a conduit, but it's like you're reading through the energy fields of these chakras. And then through that really, I know before you've asked different chakras, what is it that you want Julie to know? And then that information, and then bringing in the divine, motherly, just X-ray vision. I mean, this work has changed my life, and literally changed my energy, no question, and allowed me to do more in my life, my business, help me with parenting. So it's amazing to me. This is such a beautiful, I see it as almost like a healing art, like to be this master intuitive healer. Not everyone has the ability to do it at this level. And I guess you'd mentioned this in just one or two more questions, because I got to tell you guys, I could talk to Frances all day. Like we connect a lot, and I want to make sure that that you guys, if you're driving to work, like you don't have to wait in the parking lot listening to the rest, but we don't want you to be late to work or wherever you're going. So I do want to ask though, and I think be interesting to hear. You mentioned the laws of the universe and using those. And there might be some that's like, I know gravity. I'm not sure I know any other laws. Can you tell a little bit about the laws of the universe and how I know you said you use those and then miracles are magnified.
Yeah. So the universal laws are principles that we all work under. And most people know like the law of attraction, but the law of attraction is actually a subsidiary of the law of vibration. So the law of vibration is what talks about it's more than just like attracts like. It's like really the vibration that you're putting out there. And so just the simplest law is the law of cause and effect, right? We have the law of cause and effect that we're working with all the time. And so one of the things I teach my clients how to do is how to put out causes that are going to get them the results that they want. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that that cause is in alignment with you energetically. Otherwise you can be doing things. And I'm sure a lot of people have had this experience, like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, but it's not really having the effect. Why is that? Right. Because it's probably not it's probably not the one that's really the best cause for you. And when I say cause, it's like taking an action. Even just saying a prayer is putting out a cause. It depends upon what it is that you're really wanting to manifest. So that whole field of learning about the laws, there's there's a lot, there's so many of them. There's like 7 major ones, but even if we just start with the law of cause and effect, like that's the one that's basically the law of karma. But if you know how to work with it, you can totally turn your life around in an amazing way.
So beautiful. We're going to need a round 2 because I have so many notes here. People, if you could just see what's going on. Notes everywhere. I want to say one of the things that I love about you and your just big-hearted, really being a healer. I know that for you, it really matters that other human beings have this connection to the divine, however that looks, sees, how they feel. And I really honor and acknowledge you, like your ability to, you've worked with many different people, and, you're also an awesome writer and speaker. I know from working with you, getting to know you, being part of your classes, that, that why, that purpose of helping people to connect to the divine, to their best self, to, Divine Mother Mary, like that really is something that I know you hold to your heart. And say a little bit, like if you were to kind of share what your legacy would be, like what you hope to create here on planet Earth and how you hope to add more healing and miracles, what would that look like?
I promised myself I wasn't going to cry in this call.
Oh no.
No, it's crying in a good way. Because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and exactly what you said, which is, I feel like we're told a lot of things that aren't true, especially now, especially in the media. Yep. I feel like religion is used as a weapon. And it makes me so sad when people misunderstand scripture and they misunderstand, and it's used in a negative way. It's been this way for centuries and millennia, really. One of the big lies that we're told is that we're separate, and that you have to go through somebody else to have that connection. You have to go through the priest, you have to go through the rabbi, whoever. And that may have been the case, 2,000 years ago, but it's not the case at all. The truth of the matter is that God is here right now. Spirit is here right now. You are connected right now. And so many people come to me, Julie, and the very first thing, like whenever Mother Mary comes in a session for them, they cry because they're like, she's going to come to me? Like, why is she coming to me?
Yeah.
Because they don't feel worthy and they don't feel like they're good enough because we're told this lie over and over again. And so helping people heal that false belief of that, it's for everybody, but it's not for me, or I'm not special enough, or whatever that is. And actually giving them the experience of, oh no, here it is. It's right here. It's in your living room with you. Here is the energy. In fact, the energy is within you. This is you. So it's one of the things, we could have a whole series of interviews that we could do, because I really try to help people see that, what? Yes, we talk to Mother Mary, but she lives inside of you. She's in your heart chakra. That's where she lives. That's how she knows us so well, because we're really talking to that part of ourselves that is Mother Mary. That's unconditional love. I would love to have a catalog of books and things for posterity that are available that still give people that experience, so that 100 years from now, when people are wondering, they can pick up a book or they can listen to something, whatever they'll have in 100 years, who knows what it'll look like then. And they can have that experience, and they can know that they're more than worthy, that they are cherished, And if I could do that for even one person, that would make me so happy.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. So beautiful. And so it is. And so it'll be. Everyone stay tuned. I think we are going to need to have, so everyone listening in, if you have questions, comments, again, you can find Frances at francesfaden.com or magnifyyourmiracle.com. They both go to the same place. And if you would like to hear more, you have questions, you want to comment and share with her or me, like please, write in to both of us, but definitely go over and check out what she's doing. Your classes are amazing. Your tele-classes, you're, working with you individually. I mean, you're just such a powerful light. And it was such an honor to have you. You're somebody who I just feel like oftentimes you can focus on the negativity in the world. And to me, you're just an enormous light worker, healer, somebody who is really holding that torch of what can be, of love, of oneness, the fact that we are not separate. I don't care where you live, what faith you are of, we are all from that same humanity family. And you are just you just really, it's beautiful how you live and breathe that. And I'm so honored you got to share that today. And I definitely think we're going to need to have another conversation, and would love to hear from the listeners, like what else you'd like to hear us talk about, because I know from me over here, I got like a whole list that we didn't even cover, but that's all right. I'm going to make sure you guys want to tune in again. So you are awesome. I'm so grateful you're here. And thank you for magnifying the miracle of you and everyone who comes into your contact, really.
Thank you so much. You're such a walking example of that magnify your miracle energy. Everywhere you go, the room lights up. So I'm just so honored to have been part of this beautiful community. And thank you again.